तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा.
Thank you, technical team. We are very fortunate to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi, Honorable Vice Chancellor, J.K. Lakshmipat University, Jaipur, by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Upinder Dhar sir. Now I request Coordinator Shri Vaishnav Institute of Commerce, Dr. T.K. Mandal sir, to throw some light on Vinayanam FDP. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Vikas Sharma. Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of J.K. Lakshmipat University, and the chief guest of today's inaugural ceremony for the 6 days FDP that we are starting right away. Dr. Upinder Dhar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, the heads of various constituent institutes of the university, the HODs, dear participants, and my other faculty colleagues. At the outset, I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this inauguration of the faculty development program. The Sri Vaishnav Institute of Commerce, in association with the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, ICSI, with whom we have a memorandum of understanding, decided to start this faculty development program on a topic which is very contextual: teaching learning effectiveness, challenges and opportunities. We thought that several factors are now causing a bit of turbulence in the entire teaching learning ecosystem. First of all, the National Education Policy 2020, which focuses greatly on multidisciplinary teaching and learning, as well as skill enhancement through vocational courses, is one of these are some of them. Apart from the fact that the current crop of students belong to a generation which is highly tech savvy, unlike many of us gray-haired teachers. In fact, there is a rampant use of artificial intelligence by today's students, which many of us might have encountered. ChatGPT is one of them, which has taken deep roots in the entire teaching learning ecosystem. Today, if you ask students to take notes, they refuse to take notes. Again, which is different from what we used to do, rely heavily on handwritten notes. Instead, they use their handheld devices for making notes, taking photos, and so on and so forth, even recording lectures. The other aspect that led us to think about this particular theme, teaching learning effectiveness, challenges and opportunities, particularly in today's context, is the rising number of entrepreneurial students with entrepreneurial attitude. All of us know the number of unicorns which has jumped to, according to your latest figure, 111 as on 3rd of October this year. And predictions are that, and the government efforts are in the direction that this number would only go up. So with this thinking and background in mind, we thought of starting this faculty development program on a theme which is very much current. And accordingly, we have lined up 12 sessions starting immediately after this inaugural function by several eminent speakers, some of whom are already here in this inaugural function. So my heartfelt thanks. I'm not going through the sessions. The session plan is already shared among the participants and to most of the guests present here. But they address largely the topic and the idea behind which and according to which we have designed this particular FDP. I wish to conclude by saying, by extending my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sanghi, who has kindly agreed to grace this occasion as the chief guest. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor for encouraging, our own Vice Chancellor for encouraging us and motivating us to take up this FDP and do it in a missionary spirit. I don't want to make this as a vote of thanks kind of speech, but then this definitely is an opportunity for me to extend thanks to all the participants who have shown interest and are attending this 6 days FDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. We are very blessed to have that inspiration with us who gave a new dimension to the research is none other than our Honorable Vice Chancellor and FDP patron, Dr. Upinder Dhar sir. I invite sir for the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to welcome chief guest on this special occasion, Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of J.K. Lakshmipat University, Jaipur. I would also like to welcome all the resource persons who have already joined. Professor T.K. Mandal, directors of other institutes, deans, delegates, and friends. I would like to congratulate Dr. T.K. Mandal and his team for choosing this theme, because this is a very topical and timely theme on which we need to talk, we need to discuss, we need to interact and understand the emerging challenges. When we say teaching learning effectiveness, there are various components which are involved, and we need to focus on them one by one. And then the interface that emerges. First is the teacher, the preparedness of the teacher. The preparedness that is expected today is totally different from what it used to be only few decades back. We need to understand what are the new challenges for a teacher today. Is he facing the same kind of student that we used to face, say, 10 years back or 20 years back? Or the today's student who is in the class, who comes to the class, he is different, or he is coming to the class with a different mindset. So keeping that in view, what are the requirements, do's and don'ts for a good teacher? So, for example, he should be well versed with the subject that he is teaching. He has to be up to date. Days are gone when we used to make notes and then use those notes for years as teachers. But those days are gone, because today knowledge is increasing so fast in every discipline that a teacher has to be up to date. He or she must know what is the latest in his or her subject. Number one. Number two, another challenge is to go beyond horizon. One cannot afford to restrict to his or her subject only. One has to go beyond it. Today is a time of emphasis on multidisciplinarity. So one can't restrict to one discipline. One can't say, okay, that is not my area. Those days are gone. One has to go beyond the horizon and understand the realities. That doesn't mean that one has to know everything. One cannot. But one has to be aware. One must know how his own discipline or her own discipline relates to other disciplines. So, and so on. There are so many other challenges which need to be discussed, and the resource persons will be sharing the emerging challenges during this conference. Second component is the learner himself or herself. Today's learner, as I said, is different. Today's learner is not the same, which would believe that teacher is the final authority. There used to be a time when a student, a learner would take a teacher as the final authority. Whatever teacher has said, that is the final word. But today, a learner says that even our teacher, that means he's not the final authority. I have already got the knowledge from elsewhere, from different sources. But even my teacher is knowing it. So he's also up to date, but not the final authority. Today, a student, a learner may testify how far my teacher knows. Today, a learner comes to the class more for clarification, whether he or she has understood what he has studied correctly or not. Earlier, it was not so. Earlier, A to Z, everything was taken by the learner as shared by the teacher. Today, there are multiple sources of information, multiple sources of knowledge, and a student has easy access to many sources. So only what he wants to know, because all kinds of sources are not authentic. So what he or she, the student, the learner wants to know is that whether he's on the right track or whether she's on the right track. So for that, he or she may discuss with the teacher. The challenges before the learner are whether he is or she is approaching the right source or not. What he is learning is correct or not. So for that, he or she may depend to a great extent on the teacher. Therefore, teacher is perceived in a different light today by the learner. So learner, as I said, has multiple sources. So choosing the right source in itself becomes a challenge for the learners. Where from to learn and how to learn, what to learn. These are the questions before the student, so that there is no information explosion does not affect the learning process. Third component is the process itself, teaching, learning process. And this process depends today to a great extent very high, we can say significant extent on technology. Technology plays a very significant role. Though the impact of technology had started pre-COVID era, but COVID has given it a great push. Those who are not taking technology seriously, they have also started doing. They were forced to do it. There was learning, which was by trial and error during COVID. It's the technology. It is the technology which saved the year of at least 1 year of each student, because teachers could immediately develop the contact through technology. And we, even as teachers who are there in the field for 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, have come to know about webinars for the first time. We were well versed with seminars, conferences, symposia, colloquia. But webinars we heard for the first time. So this is the technological, because of the technological interface. So process itself is a big challenge today. And both teacher and student, the learner, both of them have to master it. Both of them have to learn it and keep on learning, because technology keeps on advancing. It is not static at all. It is advancing very fast. Therefore, teachers and learners have to be well versed with the latest technology to remain in touch and have the meaningful interface. So far as these three components, major components are concerned, we need to have such forums like conferences that we are having when I come, to understand the latest, to understand the realities, to understand the challenges, to understand the ways to face these challenges and extract the nectar out of the whole thing, the Amrit Manthan, like that kind of Manthan, so that we are able to get the Manthan while successfully taking care of the venom. So we should not take the venom. We should take the Amrit. But then that differentiation between venom and Amrit, who will do that? It has to be done together, and teacher has a very significant role in that. If this teacher-learner interface happens well, while using the process correctly, we can ensure effectiveness. So I'm sure that during this conference, our experts will be sharing their knowledge. And by the end of the conference, all of us will be richer in our understanding about the subject. So once again, I welcome Professor Sanghi and all other resource persons, my colleagues, deans, directors, and of course, delegates for this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your words set the perfect platform to discuss the theme of the Vinayanam 2023. Now, it's time to introduce the chief guest of inaugural ceremony, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi, JK Lakshmipat University, Jaipur. Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi is a renowned educator and management expert from Rajasthan. He is currently the Vice Chancellor of JK Lakshmipat University. He received his MBA degree from Rajasthan University, Jaipur in 1985. He then received his MFM degree from IIM Lucknow in 1990. In 2004, Dr. Sanghi was appointed as professor at IIM Lucknow. During his tenure at IIM Lucknow, he held several key positions, including department head, program director, and director of a research center. In 2012, Dr. Sanghi became the director of Management Development Institute, that is MDI Gurgaon. In 2016, Dr. Sanghi was appointed Vice Chancellor of J.K. Lakshmipat University. During his tenure as Vice Chancellor, he has taken several important initiatives to develop the university into a leading institution of higher education and research. Dr. Sanghi is a distinguished educator and management expert. He has received several awards and honors for his work, including IIM Lucknow's Best Teacher Award, Management Development Institute, MDI Gurgaon's Best Teacher Award, J.K. Lakshmipat University's Best Teacher Award. Dr. Sanghi is an inspiring leader who is committed to make a difference in society through education. He believes that education is a powerful tool that can be used to improve society. He is also committed to promote innovation and research. He believes that research is the foundation of innovation and it can provide important solutions for the society. Under Dr. Sanghi's leadership, J.K. Lakshmipat University has emerged as a leading educational institution in Rajasthan. The university has achieved significant accomplishments in the field of education and research. We are delighted to have with us Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi to address the August gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. It's such a distinguished set of people on this panel that I really feel honored to be here and talking about teaching learning effectiveness, challenges and opportunities. I think some of the things that Professor Dhar has already talked about, but I will still spend some time on what I believe to be the real things that people should learn about teaching learning. So there are two aspects of teaching learning. One is, the skills, the knowledge, the latest, as Professor Dhar said, we need to be updated. There is a lot of new stuff happening every day. There are also related things like how ready you are for the class. Are you thinking about the right kind of questions? When you do examination, are you having an examination which is proper? Are you giving feedback to the students? Are you doing interaction in the class? Are you all that kind of stuff? And which is all very important. Right? But to me, it seems that there is an even bigger thing that makes you a good teacher. And that is your attitude and feelings towards students. In my opinion, unless you really care for your students, you cannot be a good teacher. And this is where, I think we need to really do introspection. Because when I interact with faculty in different colleges, a statement that I often hear is, the students today are not motivated. Now, that statement is an indication, frankly, that you do not care for their success. Okay, and this is a serious statement I'm making, right? And this is a statement that so many people make all the time. And I think if today in the country we don't have good teachers, it is not because there is a lack of knowledge. I think our teachers are very well trained. They are, all of, from good places, PhDs, masters, and so on and so forth. So I don't think the knowledge is, lacking in our teachers. I think, do you really feel for them? That is really the crux. Now, why do I say this? This particular example about motivation. So I was in Olin College 5 years ago, and I was talking. There was a workshop on motivation of students, and what I learned out of that workshop was, I'm not going to talk about the whole workshop, which will take a lot of time, but the end of the workshop, they said, look, you gave admission to the student, which means that whatever is your standard, this student met that standard. Okay, this student was motivated enough to work towards that standard and get admission in your university, in your college. Once the student is in your college, pretty much everything the student does is decided by academicians. What courses is he going to do, what assignments is he going to do, even the hostel policies, even the, everything else, what extracurricular support he gets and so on. Now, if he's demotivated, who is responsible for it? You are responsible for it. The motivation is not a personal property. It's a property of the environment that the student finds himself in. If it was a personal property, he would not have been admitted to your university. So I think we all need to introspect and see whether we really care for our students. And I'll give you an example of how people today who really, really care for the student change their methodology for teaching. So this is probably 2014 or 15, when I was on a visit to New Zealand for 3 weeks to a particular university. I asked my host that I want to sit through one of the lectures in the university. So they selected whoever they thought was the best teacher in that university. And I'm sitting in his class for 1 hour. This guy was teaching Kirchhoff's law, which I had studied as a student long time ago, but I'd completely forgotten about. So he beautifully explained what Kirchhoff's law is for 10 minutes. And then he said, okay, I'm going to stop here now. And I'm going to play a video on the same topic by some faculty member of some US university. And he played that video, very nicely chosen video, which was just, extension of what he has just taught and very beautifully carved out things. Then he taught himself for 10 minutes. Then another 10-minute video from another fine, professor of some US university. And then he spoke for another 10 minutes himself. So he finished a 50-minute class. And I have not seen a better teacher. I was just overawed by the quality of teaching. I learned everything. Everything came back to me, even though it was almost 30 years since I had read about Kirchhoff's law. So at the end of the class, I went to him and I said, look, you are just, such a great teacher. What was the need to put these two videos in between? And remember, the US professor is speaking in an accent which is different from a typical accent that a New Zealander will understand. So probably the students must have had some difficulty in understanding that thing. So why did you put those two videos when you yourself are such a great teacher? And you could have, those topics that you taught for those 10 minutes, you could have done it yourself. And he asked me to just look around in the class. Everybody had an iPod. The iPod was that small music device in those days, if you remember. He said, this is the iPod generation. And he said, if you look at their playlist that they're playing on that iPod, they will never listen to the song of the same artist back to back. So the playlist will never say, if I'm listening to, I'm going to give examples from my days, Carpenter and ABBA, right? It will not be 2 songs of ABBA back to back or 2 songs of Carpenter back to back. It might be 1 song of Carpenter and 1 song of ABBA and then 1 song of Carpenter and so on, right? He says they cannot listen to the same voice for more than 5 minutes. Okay. So how can they listen to my 50-minute voice back to back, right? And therefore, it was important for me to insert 2 videos in between so that there is diversity of voices that they're hearing. And he said, choosing those videos take a huge amount of time. He said, just for selecting those 2 videos, I would have seen at least 30 to 40 videos. I would have spent the whole day preparing for this lecture. And yes, if I had given those 10 minutes myself, I would have probably needed half an hour of preparation. So it's a very hard work. While people believe that online or using somebody else's video is trivial work, I've saved my time. No, right? So, but he was doing this because he understood what his students really need. So the bottom line is, do students believe you, trust you? How do you build that trust? So for example, many of the people will say that you should take feedback from the students about your teaching. We always have, I'm sure universities have feedback mechanism at the end of the semester and do that. But teachers don't take feedback during the classes, during every now and then, right? And a lot of people in this domain will say feedback is important. But I would say beyond this, feedback is important. But what is even more important is to tell the students that their feedback matters. So for example, one expert in this area once told me that what he does in the class is at the end of the class, he will tell the students that they can take out a small slip and just write down on that slip what is one thing that they learned today and what is one thing they would have liked to learn, and just put this slip without any names and so on in my mailbox, right? And that's the feedback I get. Right? So I've done that in my class, right? Now, but what is more important is students understanding that you actually read those feedback, you actually improved or changed yourself as a result of that feedback. So the right thing to do is you read that feedback. In the next class, you summarize that feedback. You say, look, I got feedback from 10 of you. Some of you said this, some of you said this, and this is what I'm going to do this because you said this is the topic I should have had covered last time. So I'm going to cover that topic today. It gives them a thing that I have a stake in their success. And if I have a stake in their success, they will trust me, they will attend my classes, and they will share their problems more freely with me, and they will be attentive and all that kind of stuff. God has been very kind to me. In Kanpur and in IIT Kanpur, where I've taught for 27 years, typically students, faculty would, say that they have attendance of 50%, 60%, right? When they don't force attendance, that is. I mean, most of us didn't force attendance, right? My classes invariably had 80% attendance, and I was never understood what is this problem about attendance. I mean, why should we even talk to anybody about attendance? But I think this is the reason for attending classes is that they always felt that I have their success in mind. Okay. Now, I'll just also talk about this. One of the things that Professor Mandal talked about, taking notes, that when we were students, we used to take notes, and today students don't take notes as much. And I think we must understand as a teacher why note taking is important. Is it important only because I used to do it 30 years ago or 40 years ago? So learning doesn't happen by a student listening to you. Let that be very clear to you. Okay. Listening to something doesn't cause any learning whatsoever. What causes learning is when people process what they're listening and people connect what they're listening to what they already know in their mind. That is when learning happens. Otherwise, ek kaan se suna, dusre kaan se nikala. Right? Now, the note taking was processing of information. I was not writing down everything that the teacher was saying. I was processing that information and writing a summary of that information. And therefore, note taking was important. Reading those notes again was not important. I mean, I can tell you as a student, I would have taken detailed notes in every class, but hardly read them again. And still, I think I learned a lot from those classes because note taking itself was a learning exercise, not repeating those notes. And therefore, when students ask me, in fact, this is something that I learned only in the last few years. Earlier, when this PPT, etc., came, my own views were that yes, I don't use PPT, but a lot of faculty members use PPT these days, and those PPTs should be distributed in advance so that people have them, they can read them, and they can take down only very small notes and so on. But I think a few years ago, when I read this kind of stuff, I realized what is wrong with not taking notes, that you are not processing the information. And therefore, as a teacher, now you have to see that the goal is not taking notes. The goal is processing of information. How do I make sure people process the information, right? And there, I think the modern pedagogy says that if you interact with the class, then they are forced to do that processing of information if they are afraid that they may be asked a question, right? But again, maybe I'm taking a little bit more time, but this is a subject area which is so close to my heart that I can't stop speaking. So please bear with me for another 2-3 minutes. Right? So if you want students to process the information, as I said, interaction is one model of that. And therefore, if I were to say I'm randomly going to ask questions in the class, right? People are processing that information because they don't want to be on the side that they can't answer the question. Right? But then as a teacher, you should also be making sure that if I ask somebody a question about a topic that I've just taught, and that person is not able to answer that question, how will you handle that? Because, you know, if you just let it be and ask somebody else that question, then this person is completely demotivated. This person is saying, you know, why did I attend this class? I've been shamed in front of the class and all that. So you need to be very careful in what questions you ask. And if somebody is not able to answer the question, how do you handle this? So for example, you know, can you ask another question? Can you give a hint? Can you, whatever answer this person is giving, can you say, well, you know, this is not the answer to the question, but this is very close or something like this. Make him feel as if he's almost there, right? So that is very important in making sure that you make him feel good about himself or herself. And the last part is, I'm taking down some notes, so let me just go through this and see if I missed out something. You know, taking feedback or exams is also very important. Do students learn out of them, right? Or are we testing them? Again, if students get a feeling that they are being tested, they will deal with it in some way. But students feel that exams are yet another way to learn. So are you giving interesting questions that make them think beyond what they've learned in the class? So that is the last part I wanted to say. But overall, if you believe in your students, if you really make them feel that you care for their success, I think you will be a good teacher. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can be without knowledge. You have to be up to date, as Professor Dhar said. You have to really go prepared in the class. You must be planning your lessons well, and you know you must be planning your examples well, and all those kinds of things. But feeling for students is the most important thing. With this, I thank you very much for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to share these thoughts with you. And I wish this event a big success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for blessing us with your words of wisdom. Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. I request Dr. J.K. Sahu from the Organizing Committee Vinayanam 2023 to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Vikas sir. Thank you, everyone. A warm and very graceful morning to Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dheeraj Sanghvi sir, our Vice Chancellor sir, Vinayanam sir, Dean FDR, Santosh Jar Madam, our Coordinator Dr. Mandal sir, and all HOD and HOIs, esteemed faculty members, and my dear colleague. I, Dr. J.K. Sahu, on behalf of SVIC, National Institute of Commerce, would like to take privilege to propose a vote of thanks. I extend my sincere gratitude to our chief guest. Sir, your word is very nice, and your crux of your session is like fearless teaching or fearless and believe our students. It is one of the very beautiful things in your session, and as a
So thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us and provide us a very wonderful session and motivating us. Thank you. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Professor Sanghvi, and I'm sure we'll have more occasions to listen to you, sir.
I now request one and all to rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे।
Thank you all. With this, we come to the end of the inaugural ceremony, and all of you are requested to continue the session 1 of this FDP on the topic Exploring Dynamics of NEP 2020 with the same link. We will shortly start this session. I request all the participants to be on the same link. Mandal sir, can we start the session 1?
Ask Professor Guru Prasad if he is ready.
Yes. Guru Prasad sir, can we start?
Yeah, fine.
So welcome back everyone once again. We are very delighted to have Dr. K. Guru Prasad sir with us. He is the key speaker of our first session of this FDP. I request technical team to do the virtual welcome of our first speaker of session 1 of Vinayanam 2023. Before we invite Dr. K. Guru Prasad sir for his session, let me introduce him to all of you. Dr. K. Guru Prasad is an educator with over 35 years of experience. He is currently the director of Sri Vaishnav Institute of Science, Indore. Dr. Guru Prasad completed his MSc and PhD degree in botany from Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. He then worked as a postdoctoral research at the Biology Department, Kobe University, Japan, and Biophysics Department, Moscow University, Russia. Dr. Guru Prasad has published over 90 research papers in national and international journals of repute. He has also authored and edited 3 books. He has supervised the PhD work of 25 students and has been the principal investigator in 12 research projects funded by various government and non-government agencies. Dr. Guru Prasad is a passionate and dedicated scientist who is committed to bring excellence in teaching and research. He is a highly respected figure in the Indian science community, and his contributions to the field of plant physiology have been significant. His highly effective teacher with his students have consistently praised him for his clarity, enthusiasm, and dedication. Dr. Guru Prasad has held several important administrative positions at Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. He is a skilled administrator and has played a key role in the development of institution. Dr. Guru Prasad has expertise on National Education Policy 2020 and delivered many lectures on national education policy in India. Today, he will guide us on understanding the dynamics of National Education Policy 2020. I invite Dr. K. Guru Prasad sir to deliver his lecture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas Sharma. By the time I open my slides for this lecture, I just would request Dr. Vikas Sharma to let me know the composition of the people who are taking this faculty development program. Like a broad composition of how many people are from management and commerce and how many are from science. If there are anybody from science. So please take a couple of minutes by the time I open my slides. Okay, Professor Vikas Sharma.
Sir, we have one participant from Uzbekistan, Tashkent. And as far as other participants are concerned, so we have participants from Karnataka, from Odisha, from Maharashtra, from Uttarakhand, from Gujarat, from Haryana. So most of the states are participating, and we have multidisciplinary faculties here. So some of them are from science also.
Okay, thank you for giving me this information because I am from science background, so I just wanted to know. I'll be looking at NEP, of course, which is generally applicable to everyone, irrespective of the stream in which they come from. But still, I would like to begin with science, since science is my subject. Okay, give me a couple of minutes to open my slides. Can you please confirm whether my slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
I put it on slideshow and please confirm.
Yes, sir. Your slides are visible.
Okay. Okay, thank you. In this faculty development program, the teaching, learning, effectiveness, challenges, and opportunities, I have been given this topic, exploring dynamics of new education policy, national education policy of 2020. Before I go into this, what is new in this educational policy that has changed our way of teaching and learning, and whether it is more effective to meet the challenges, because we should not have changed the policy unless we needed a change, and that it should meet the challenges which are going to come in the future. In the inaugural session, we had some good ideas and thinking coming from the experts who already briefed us about what to expect and how to adapt to those expectations. Before that, what is important in teaching learning from science point of view, particularly I work in biological sciences. So from biological science point of view, the teaching learning started only when the humans were able to develop the language. Now, this has got, since this is a FDP arranged by the Commerce Department, some of the recent readings which I did connects this, how the teaching and learning emerged. I go into those slides. Because of the language, the humans had this capacity to think, to ideate, then to analyze, and then to express, and also to formulate plans
and act upon them. All these were possible only when the language developed. Of course, the humans have plenty of languages, thousands of languages. In India itself, the spoken languages and dialects are about 1,500, although official languages are only 25. But the dialects are so many. That means the cognitive evolution of human beings enabled them to communicate in many ways through many types of languages. Now, with this ability, it was possible to go for teaching and learning and make others also, particularly the youngsters, to think, to ideate, and to analyze and to express. So this was possible only through the language. Now, there are many languages which do not have a script, as you are aware of. That means most of the languages are not in the written form. That even today, there are many languages which they don't have a script of their own. My recent readings, suddenly brought commerce into prominence in biology because I was just looking to how the writing was, because writing is most important. Now, if you look to this fact, how the writing started, when did the humans start writing things? And what is writing? Writing means storing information outside the brain. This is what we call as writing, which means many languages, they don't store information in the written form. It is just in the heads, just in the brain. There is no need to store the information outside the brain. Now, when did this need arise? This is where commerce people played a very important role for the need for writing in human beings. When did this need come to the human beings? The first written script, if you look to this research, first written script of humans, when did it emerge? It's emerged in somewhere around 3,500 to 3,000 BCE, somewhere there, from the recorded researches in anthropology. And the first writings were on the clay tablets, which was written by Sumerians in southern Mesopotamia. It comes somewhere around in the present day Iraq, in that place. And these were the clay tablets. The first writing was on these clay tablets. And what was written on these clay tablets, one of these clay tablets had this writing. It just wrote 29086 measures of barley, 37 months cushion. Now, this is a information that was stored outside the brain, and this was accounts information. So the first writing did not come from poets or philosophers or writers. It came from accountants who wanted to keep a record of things. Since the trading was done in terms of measures of barley, money was not evolved at that time. So they had to remember who has to be paid how much and how much a person has worked. So this writing showed, and incidentally, Kushim is the first name of the accountant who wrote this. And this writing came with this accountant who, this is the first recorded name in the human history which belongs to an accountant. So the commerce people can take credit for inventing writing, and they were the first people amongst the humans to store information outside. Then, but this is called as the partial script because this is not a complete language. Partials, when we call a language a partial script, it means it uses symbols to store some particular type of information. And in this case, the type of information which was stored was related to the number of days a person worked and the number of measures a the person has to be given. A full script was evolved later, which means it fully represents the spoken language, that whatever we speak can all be translated into writing using alphabets. So that's what's called as the full script, which came much later. Now, moving ahead, because of this speaking and writing skills, the humans became wise since they could store knowledge, pass it on to the next generation, and wisdom, both knowledge and wisdom. That's why in biology we have the scientific name for humans, which is written in Latin, and the humans are called Homo sapiens. What does it mean? What these two words mean in English? Homo means man, and sapiens means wise. So this Latin word was found for human beings only because of their cognitive ability of speaking and writing, both speaking and writing. This is the one. Then came the research. Now, how do we understand research? Because in new education policy, a lot of prominence has been given to research, and that is why it has been changed from the old methods of teaching. Now, what do we mean by research? See, research is defined in many ways. This is a definition I like, which is from Albert St. Georgi. He was a biochemist, scientist, who said that research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. Now, that is what is research, which means this is extremely important in the teaching the students, because if a teacher thinks that he knows everything, and if a student comes up with a new idea, that means that as far as research is concerned, a student is as good as a teacher, because he can come up with a new idea. Since research, if we define research as to see what everybody else has seen, that means what a student will see what teacher also has seen, but it will think differently, which means he will come up with a new idea. Just like, for example, in science, we give this example of Newton, the theory of gravitational force. That means before Newton, everybody saw the apple falling from the tree. And what did they do? They just took the apple and ate it. That's about all they did. They didn't think about a gravitational force. They never thought why the apple falls in a straight line and why does it fall to the ground. Now, this is a new way of seeing things which happen. Now, going further, there are two words here. The word research comes from the word search. And search is just to find anything randomly. That is to try to find something by looking at it. Even sometimes we misplace things and start looking for it or searching for it. But that's not research. The research differs in the sense that research is also to search, but it is to investigate systematically. If you want to investigate something, not randomly, but systematically, with a purpose. There are many purposes for which the research is done. One of them is to find out what is known, what is not known, what we can develop further, and say, for example, if we do a research of the word management, that means if we search how did this word came into existence, the word management, because there may be many from management and commerce in this group. We ask the first question, who coined this word manager? Everyone knows what is management and what is manager. Manager is a person who manages everything, but who coined this word? Did management people coin this word? It was Shakespeare in 1589 in his book, Love's Labour's Lost. where he used this word for the first time, manager. But before that, where did this word originate? The root word for manager is manage. It is called as horsemanship. That means the handling or training of a horse. In Italian, also the same root word is there, managio. Uh, that means a person who could train a horse was a manager originally. He could manage a horse. But later, in Latin, it means mammus means hand. So a person who could handle a horse was called as a manager. That is the root word of manager. But later, as the time progressed, this word assumed a lot of different meanings. Say in 1570, the manager meant controller or direct by administrative ability. Then in 1580, even to wield an object, to use an object by hand, it was called as managing an object. You can manage an object. That was scientific way of telling it. Then it assumed a lot of other meanings that just to get by or carry on with affairs. And in 1732, it was effect by effort, that is, succeed in accomplishing something. Finally, when you say manage, that means you succeed in accomplishing something. Even a company manager accomplishes something. Now, the humans also evolved another thing why in teaching and learning. They evolved fiction that is imaginative. So they could use the language for imaginative things. That means things that do not exist, but things that could be imagined, that means these are unreal things that could be imagined by the human beings. That is what we call as fiction. But economists and commerce people and management people, like most of you, found another way of using this imaginative fiction, and it's called legal fiction. What we mean by legal fiction is to create something like a company. Companies are a legal fiction. Now, what do we mean by this is that I take an example. For example, Kingfisher was a company which doesn't exist anymore. Kingfisher Airlines was a company. Now, as long as it existed, what was Kingfisher Airlines? It was just a name with a logo, and it had an office. For us, like customers, the Kingfisher's office was Kingfisher Airlines office. Now the office exists. That means the building exists, but there is no more. Kingfisher Airline doesn't exist. Similarly, Kingfisher Airlines had aircrafts. They were Boeing aircrafts which had the logo of Kingfisher, which had the red painting of Kingfishers, and everything by which we recognize that aircraft as Kingfisher Airlines, which doesn't exist anymore. The Boeing still is there, but the paint has been changed now, and maybe Indigo has taken it over, something like that. So this is what we call as legal fiction. Means it is a fiction, but it is legal. So the companies can be created. They are imaginative companies that can disappear anytime. And it's not a real thing, but it is legally valid. So as long as the company exists and functions, it is valid, just like Kingfisher Airlines. All those aircrafts which Kingfisher Airlines were operating still exist, but Kingfisher Airlines company doesn't exist. So this is what we call in cognitive evolution as legal fiction. Now these things helped in spreading the knowledge and wisdom, and also in the prosperity of human beings. This is just a background I wanted to start with. And then when we come to the teaching, we should know what is the research and teaching, how do they differ. Teaching provides the knowledge about what others have researched. See, if you read a book, read a paper, read a research paper, or anything you read, that means there is some knowledge provided by others. It was not created by you. But if you do research, then the original research provides your own contribution to knowledge. You do your own research, then you are contributing to that knowledge, which of course someone else can also use. In the new education policy, the importance has been given more towards creating knowledge rather than just consuming knowledge created by others. Of course, even to create knowledge, you need a background. It doesn't mean that you should not study anything or you should not listen to any teacher. But along with it, right from the beginning, right from the undergraduate level, the student needs to develop his own thinking and his own research, how to do research using the knowledge. Now, the advantages, there are several advantages of this kind of undergraduate research. It helps in developing critical thinking expertise. It also helps in developing analytical skills, then communication skills, then it becomes essential for social and economic development because the direction of the research is towards social and economic development. I mean, we do not do research just for the sake of doing research, especially in social sciences, economics, and commerce and other places. It is not only to develop the skills of analytical skills, but it also has a orientation. It has a goal. What is essential? Where does the research lead to? Is it leading to social and economic development? So towards that end, the research is oriented. So this type of thinking needs to be inculcated right in the beginning. And that is what the new education policy aims to do. Then, of course, placing knowledge at the service of development is the same. These two are the almost top of the same thing. Then when you come to science and technology, then convert the scientific knowledge to applications. So all the benefits we reap of technology, it emerges from science when the scientific knowledge is converted to technological applications. Just like we use mobile for everything now, even for financial transactions, we use mobile. But mobile is the technology that is based on the basic science of electronics. And that is how the knowledge can be converted to applications. So these are the advantages of doing research, and the new education policy aims to adapt this attitude of research right from the undergraduate classes. Now, how does it do it? Particularly with reference to India, the reason is there is a lack of experimentation as a part of learning science. This is what one of the famous scientists, Jayant Narlikar, observed. Because in India, it is becoming more, the education is meaning to be passing examinations, reproducing the textbooks without applying critical thinking. So the original thinking is lacking in Indian system of education. This was one of the main reasons for changing the policy to facilitate a student to develop his own thinking or her own thinking rather than just passing the examinations. That is why this area of undergraduate research was incorporated into the teaching in the universities. An undergraduate research is defined as an inquiry or research conducted by an undergraduate student that makes an original intellectual contribution to the discipline. There is a Council of Undergraduate Research that is there. This is how in America it is promoted, and then in America they have formed a Council of Undergraduate Research. We don't have a council still, but we have incorporated this idea in the undergraduate teaching in the new education policy. Now, if we take the researchers per million, how many researchers are there per million? Why we need these researchers? Like for example, per million, the number of researchers in USA is 4,300, in China it is 1,200, and we stand very low here at 215 per million. Of course, it is also directly related to how much research requires investment. I come to this point again later. Currently, the investment, for example, in USA, it is 2.74% of GDP is invested in research, and China is investing 2.11, and we are way behind still. Of course, our number is also large, but still, China also has equally good number. But the investment they do in research is much higher than India. Now, this is another reason that new education policy is required to focus on research more in teaching. Now, the benefits of this policy are listed like this. There is, besides research, there is flexibility and choice of subjects. Some of you who have already adapted this new education policy in various subjects might have already experienced this, that the students now have flexibility and choice of subjects. And also, it reduces the gaps between arts and science, because now they have the freedom to choose subjects. Like science students can choose a subject of arts, and it's already happening, particularly in our university now. A lot of science students are opting for other subjects, although we started this new education policy only since 2 years, but there is a lot of a change now observable amongst the students. Then it also provides scope for curricular and extracurricular activities. Then it has skill-based and vocational training. Now, skill-based and vocational training, for a long time, it was these two, vocational trainings and skills, were separated from conventional education. For example, we had polytechnics in the very beginning. In the olden days, we used to have polytechnic or ITI centers, where the students were taught only the skills without the subject knowledge, and the universities taught only the subjects without the skills. Now, this gap between the development of a skill, which leads to vocational training, and studying a subject, this gap is being narrowed now in the new educational policy, because we are bringing in more skill-based courses along with the study of other subjects. Then we have, of course, one more advantage, one more benefit is the multiple entry and exit system. That means a student has a choice of discontinuing an education and continuing with it anytime that suits him. So this is an advantage which we did not have earlier. So this is also listed as one of the benefits. Now, the components of new education policy, some of you or most of you might be aware of this, but still I just go through this. One component is the ability enhancement. That means to make the student a holistic human. And how do you make a student holistic human? That means not only he studies the subject of his choice, but he also develops the communication skills. He studies about the environmental education also has become very important now, because the environment is fast changing with industrial revolution, and irrespective of the area in which a student chooses to have his career, it is important for a student to know about the changes in the environment, since it is going to affect all sectors. Similarly, professional ethics is irrespective of the profession, ethics matters. So that is another area. So these things have been clubbed together as ability enhancement courses, which means that this will enable a student to become a better, knowledgeable person, apart from the subject which he has chosen. So that's the idea. Then, of course, we also have other component which we call as generic electives. Now, generic electives is the subject that is chosen by the student, means this is the choice of the student. Till now, when we were students, we had no choice to choose a subject, except that we choose the stream. Either we go to the science stream or an engineering stream or a commerce stream or social science. So we just had to choose a stream, that's all. And we didn't have, so suppose I join science and then I do have an aptitude to do literature. I have an aptitude for studying literature or writing things. Then there was no way to develop that skill along with my science. But now there is a possibility. That means a student can choose a subject depending on his aptitude. If a person has an aptitude for management, although he is not studying management, he can still develop that aptitude further by selecting a course that is from the management stream. So in our university, for example, we have given the choice from different domains, right? From engineering, science, humanities, social science, management, commerce, fine arts, law, agriculture, and forensic science. So a wide variety of domains from which a student can nurture his aptitude other than his own main subjects of interest. So that's another advantage of the national education policy. Then it has a component of MOOCs, that is massive open online courses, because these days students can also study many things on their own using the technological tools. So SWAYAM is one such platform which is India's national MOOCs platform, which offers about 2,600 courses by 1,300 instructors from 200 different universities and institutes. So you have the choice now. The student has a choice to study not only from his own teachers, but from teachers across the country. And of course, this is only at the national level, but he can also go to the international level, that he can study from any university which offers an online course. That provision has been made now in the new education policy, that they can choose certain credits from the online courses, and that will be a component of the regular studies, which was not there earlier. So that's another advantage of the new educational policy. Now, if we go a little more into the differences between the conventional teaching and the NEP structure, the national new policy structure, then in the conventional teaching, usually we had at least 3 subjects. I'm more familiar with science, so I talk about this. Say, for example, you need to take physics, chemistry, maths, or physics, chemistry, biology, or something like that. And in other subjects, because this I have only quoted the science subjects like physics, chemistry, math, or physics, math, computer science, or biotechnology, chemistry, and life science. Now these are three subjects, minimum of 3 subjects a student had to take. But now he chooses only 1 subject as major and 1 subject as minor. So he has to be sure about which major subject he wants to study. He cannot change it, of course, although there is a provision now in the second year to change minor to major and major to minor. But mostly it is important for a student to choose what's the major subject he wants to study in a course, in an undergraduate course. Then, of course, we have skill development and vocational courses. We have a lot of things. Now, this is possible in our university. Say, for example, agriculture course or a mechanical engineering, electronics, communication, or baking. We have food and nutrition and other things. But now this is possible only because those departments are available in a university. So the new education policy also requires that the institution should have multidisciplinary areas where students can choose subjects for skill development from other or vocational courses from other domains also. So this is one of the important aspects of new education policy. Then, of course, the projects in core or elite subjects, the industrial internships. Now, what is required for making new education policy more effective is to create more facilities for the students so that they can independently work on projects if they have to work on their own projects. So the laboratories need to be more equipped, or we should also have more rapport with the industries where we can send our students for internships, where they can have online learning, in those industries. Now, if we really compare how we have distributed the credits in this new educational policy, then you will see that out of the total credits, something like 128 credits for an undergraduate course, a major has 48 and minor 24. But these two make up only about, these two will only make up about 50 to 60% at the most of the courses. Whereas the rest of the 40%, it will go into the ability enhancement or the generic elective, depending on the aptitude of the student, or in doing skill project and internship. That means if you combine all this, only in what we used to study in the conventional courses, 100% we used to study only the conventional subjects. But now it has been reduced to 55%, whereas 45% of the course is composed of ability enhancement, then generic elective, skill developments, project and internships. So that's a major change that has happened. And this has happened only to promote, like I said earlier, promote the attitude to do more research, promote the attitude to do more analytical thinking, and also develop original ideas. So this is the major change which has come through the national education policy. So it means, you see, the subjects only occupy 57%, whereas the projects and other things by 40%. Now, that is the difference. Now I come to the new technologies which are coming into the teaching. Apart from the online teachings, now there are robots also which are being employed now to replace the teachers. Like for example, this is of course the first robot which became very popular for a news reader, Sophia. This is on the television, of course. But now we have customized robots, like for example from Samsung, it has customized robots who can teach yoga, and there are also virtual doctors who can do the medical counseling. Similarly, we have robots, say for example, Tites is a educational robot which can teach students how to code. And you see a robot now, for example, in this slide, actually talking to the students that they can talk to this robot, and then this robot will work as a teacher to teach the students how to code. So these are some of the new developments that are happening in education. But still, the robots and computers cannot fully replace the teacher, because a teacher can never truly teach unless he is still learning himself. A lamp can never light another lamp unless it goes to burn its own flame. So that's what Tagore said, and that's what is relevant even today. That the advantage of having a teacher is that he will also be continuously learning. He's not only teaching, but he's also continuously learning. But as far as the national education policy is concerned, the major emphasis is to develop the original thinking in students and the analytical abilities of a student, so that they can develop on their own and look to the future with more confidence with their own ideas. So I wish to close my lecture here, and we'll be happy to take any questions if you have.
Any question? Any question from the participants? Sir, I cannot see any question in the
Okay.
chat box even.
Okay. So if there are no questions, then I'm through with my lecture. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your enlightening words and guiding us on NDP 2020. I, Vikas Sharma, from Organizing Committee Vinayanam 2023, feel privileged to propose a vote of thanks to our esteemed resource person, Dr. K. Guruprasad sir, for gracing us with his valuable presence and imparting his rich knowledge and expertise during our current faculty development program on exploring dynamics of FDP, of National Education Policy. Dr. K. Guruprasad sir's insightful session on exploring dynamics of NEP were not only engaging and informative, but also thought-provoking, challenging us to re-evaluate our teaching methodologies and approaches. His expertise in NEP 2020 was evident in his ability to simplify complex concepts and provide practical solutions to real-world challenges faced by educators. On behalf of entire organizing committee and all the participants of the FDP, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to K. Guruprasad sir for his remarkable contribution to the success of this program. His presence has undoubtedly enriched our learning experience and will undoubtedly have a lasting impact on our teaching careers. Once again, thank you, Dr. K. Guruprasad sir, for your invaluable contribution to our professional development. May you continue to inspire and empower educators with your knowledge and expertise. Thank you. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma and Dr. Sau.
Thank you, sir.
Participants, your second session will start at 2 p.m. The session will be taken by CS Raghav Panchal, and the topic of this session will be imperative of IPR in research and innovation. So all of you are requested to join the same link at 2 p.m. It will be better if you'll join 5 minutes early, this link. We'll start the second session on time. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. So we have a lunch break now. After 1 hour, we'll meet once again on the same day.
Thank you, everyone.